In the main street of La Roche en Ardenne, we have the museum of the Battle of the Bulge and Bataille des Ardennes, which is the word which is used in French. One thing I'd like to point out though, whilst I am here, is the house which is on the other side of the road. This one here. Now, before the war, all the houses in La Roche were like this one here, or nearly all of them, many of them. You see it in the old photographs. This is the only building which survived the bombing. Two raids above all which stand out, 26th of December and the 8th of January, attempting to destroy the bridge which was in the town. The bridge which had been left by the Americans, repaired by the Americans, left. And so because this was a transit place for tanks and other vehicles, it became an important target. And because of the hills all around the town, the effects of the blast were actually multiplied. There's less bombs dropped here than on, for example, Saint Vito and on Houffalize, both quite close, but because of the hills, that was the problem. 113 people died of approximately 500 who lived here in December 1944. Before the war, this was a place, it was a holiday place. It was 40 hotels here. 40 hotels, only 500 people live here. Why was it? When people came here in the summer. And understandably why, because it looks so nice. What I want to do is just to show a little bit about what's here. I don't want to spoil the fun by showing the whole thing. So what we've got here, we're going to concentrate on the Battle of the Bulge. But this bit here starts off with the situation in 1940, refugees on the road and panic. In the German occupation, there was resistance, but then came, on the 9th of September 1944, the liberation of this village, because it only had 500 people living there, so I'm going to call it a village, and only one person was killed. He was French, and he was somebody who'd joined up with the Americans, but he wasn't officially part of the US Army. He was from Paris. He came here and he was killed. His name was Michel Prou. Now, the Battle of the Bulge, coming through here, we can see some of the American and British equipment. Now this is quite a pretty good collection. For example, that is a dingo. I've never seen one of them before. So a light armoured vehicle. And these vehicles were used in the liberation. This town was liberated by both the British and the Americans on the 11th of January 1945, but only after it was pulverised, as we can see in the pictures down here. What it looked like before the war, I can't feel was the light, and then what happened after the bombing. The reason for all of this bombing, which killed 1/4 of the population of the town, in fact slightly over, was because of the bridge. The Germans, when they retreated, they blew up the bridge. A Bailey Bridge was put in its place almost immediately by the Americans, and then when the Americans pulled back, they failed to blow up the bridge. The reason this became a target was because of the bridge. So while La Roche en Ardenne, Saint Vite got bombs, Bastogne got food and weapons. And although a large part of Bastogne was also destroyed, it wasn't anything compared to what was actually destroyed here. The Allied floor includes the uniforms of the commanding officers. and veterans used to come here quite often. As things stand now, the youngest is going to be 90. So that's a recoilless cannon, and now we see the food coming up. Menu number 1. Now, I was in the army, there were 4 menus. I believe there's something like 10 now, maybe more. There we have a poster trying to recruit people to the SS, people from this area. Now, there were far more people from the northern side of Belgium which joined the SS. The amount of French speakers was comparatively low. First of January 1945, the Luftwaffe has its last throw of the dice. 900 aircraft attacked Allied aircraft, and they knocked out some 300 or so Allied aircraft, but the pilots weren't there, and obviously pilots are more difficult to replace than the aircraft. One aircraft they did knock out was Montgomery's personal plane. In doing this, however, the German losses were similar to the Allied losses, only a little bit less, mainly from their own anti-aircraft. But they don't seem to have coordinated this properly, and that was absolutely the last throw of the dice for the Luftwaffe. Adolf Galland said,
the weapons room. During the Battle of the Bulge, the Germans used all sorts of weapons, such as, for example, we have here Italian and Spanish models. Anything which had the 9mm round was useful to them. Weapons such as the Luger down there, which is from Holland, so that would be taken from a Dutch officer in 1940, captured material. And some of it, as you can see, is pretty old even for the time. Weapons which were almost 50 years old then.